You are now listening to The Perfect Prana with Kyah Ann. What's poppin'? What's good? You're listening to The Perfect Prana Show on 88.1 FM WCRX, Saturdays at 10 a.m., Sundays at 9 a.m. If you love yoga, this is the perfect place to be. And if you do not love yoga, this is still the perfect place to be. I'm Kyah Ann, your host and a yoga enthusiast, and I have a lot up for you today. Yoga news, where I talk about what's going on in the world, how it relates to yoga. Yoga heals, where I bring on a very special guest and talk to them about their practice, and the weekly wellness challenge, where I have been following the 8 limbs of yoga. But before we get into all of that, let's center ourselves. No matter where you're at, no matter what you're doing, let's take this moment to go inward, to focus on our breath, focus on our prana. Prana translating to breath, as in breath of life, our life energy for so many translations. So it doesn't matter if you're sitting on the plane, you're sitting on the couch, you're sitting on the floor, you're going on a walk, you're standing in the kitchen. There's a lot of options. Just take this moment to lengthen out your spine. Whether you're sitting, standing, or laying, create a nice line of energy from your tailbone to your crown so breath can effortlessly move through you. If you're sitting or standing, plant your feet on the ground, root your feet down, and extend your crown up high. Create distance between your shoulders and your ears. Maybe close your eyes or soften your gaze, and begin with pushing out all your breath so we can begin a new breath cycle together. And then inhale through your nose all the way up to your collarbone and hold at the top. And exhale, let out a nice sigh like pushing out all the breath. Inhale through your nose, into your belly, past your rib cage, filling up your lungs and holding. And exhale in the opposite direction, leaving your belly last, pushing out all the breath, letting out a sigh. Inhale through your nose, fill your belly up like a balloon, and hold. And exhale, letting out that sigh, pushing out all the breath, expelling what you do not need. Let your breath come back to a steady rhythm. I am centered. Let's get on with the show. Yoga news. Is this a sign that McDonald's stock has peaked? So I'm not a economics girly, so I can't get too deep into this, but essentially McDonald's growth rate is going down. They're still growing in sales, but not as much as usual, and it's going down right now, and people are worried that it will continue to go down, especially the people that own stocks and all that fancy complex stuff. McDonald's has been raising its prices, charging more, of course, because inflation, and to make more. But people might be pushing back against that. I'm not about to pay all this money for a McDonald's meal. People generally associate McDonald's and other fast food with being cheap, and they're like, if it's expensive, why would I eat it? Why would I go there? It's supposed to be cheap and convenient fast food. But why is this my yoga news? Well, because I'm anti-McDonald's. I'm just saying that now, and hopefully I'm not shooting myself in the foot and closing opportunities. Maybe this show could be some really big one day. So by saying I'm anti-McDonald's could be terrible. It could be I could step on the wrong feet, whatever. But I'm just gonna say it. I don't care. I'm anti-McDonald's, and that's just because I'm such a health oriented, wellness oriented person, and McDonald's and health and wellness just don't go together. They just don't. I wanted to discuss a few reasons why McDonald's sales might be going down, or at least McDonald's growth. And I think it's a sign of the times. I feel as if collectively we are ascending. People are, in air quotes, waking up. People are more concerned about their health, their fitness, their wellness. People understand, like, okay, I need to get healthy. I need to be healthy. I need to stay healthy. Like, my health is my wealth. I think more and more people are conscious about that. And that's one aspect of it. But some of those people still might indulge in fast food or McDonald's or whatever. But I think it's happening just a little less, like degree by degree. I don't have the data to back it up, but I'm just saying personally in my life, in just considering the changes I've gone through, wellness trends are on the rise. The wellness industry is making more money. Like, it just makes sense. You know, I'm not saying that this is it, but I think that this is one component of it. Also, McDonald's main customers, their reoccurring customers, are sick or they're no longer with us, because you can't really sustain a life where McDonald's is a regular thing. Like, that's just not going to happen for long. You're not going to get away with that. So there will be less McDonald's customers as people continue to eat McDonald's. Like, if that's part of your daily thing or your weekly thing or whatever, that it's like you'll either have to stop doing it eventually, or, you know, people might get sick if they continue to eat fast food and things like McDonald's at the rate that they are or were. So I just feel like it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, yeah, their customers can't sustain their business, because our life does have a limit on it, and we can do things to limit our life even more. And McDonald's is one of those things. We could eat more McDonald's, and I'm sure that will limit our life. And then also, considering the time period and all the controversy going on between Israel and Palestine, there's a lot of people boycotting McDonald's and other companies because of the conflict. And I'm honestly curious about their sales and like if that is really impacting their sales. And I don't know. If it is, then so what? You know, I'm anti-McDonald's, so I'm like, oh, McDonald's growth is going down. Good. You know, I'm anti-fast food in general. Like, that's just something where I'm like, nope. You know, absolutely. I've taken a strong stance, and hopefully I don't change on the stance of being anti-fast food, but particularly anti-McDonald's because it's such a pinnacle part of the culture that I'm like, yeah, we just need to kill this part of the culture. Like, this is, you know, when I think of fast food, McDonald's is like the first one to come in mind. Like, they've literally permeated our culture so hard. Like, there's so many McDonald's references all up and throughout our culture. Like, it's sick. Like, yeah, it's pretty bad. And it's more than other fast food places. I feel like McDonald's is kind of like the king of fast food places in the world. It's just so big. And maybe there are other fast food restaurants with more sales or this or whatever, but I'd say this one probably has the most impact and influence on the culture. And that's part of why they get to thrive, or why they have been thriving for so long. Even if other fast food restaurants might be better, people might think that the food is better at other places, or other places might be less expensive or whatever, but their name is just so big. They've made such an impact that it's kind of like they're not going anywhere. But maybe they will. Maybe they won't be able to sustain this business for long. Maybe a lot of fast food places won't be able to sustain their business for long considering that they are making people unhealthy, they're exploiting people, and just making the quality of life worse for mostly everyone. I mean, yeah, they give jobs or whatever, but the way that people's health is impacted by these fast food places, and so many people are addicted to these fast food places. And I'm not saying that like it's the food's fault, but it's like it's both. It's the substance. There are things that are put in food that, you know, these places have food scientists that literally curate this food to make people crave it. So, you know, there are people that can eat the food and they eat it in moderation and they're not addicted or whatever, but I just, you know, eating this kind of food, you are more susceptible to becoming their reoccurring customer. And I don't agree with it. Anyways, I think it's a good thing that their growth is on the down, and hopefully it continues that way, and hopefully it continues that way with a lot of fast food places. Like, you know, less fast food, more whole, nourishing, good, tasty food. Like, it tastes good and it's also nourishing. That is where it's at. That's where it should be, at least. Personal yoga news. I'm starting a new job as a flexologist, so I'll be stretching people, deepening my understanding of anatomy and the practice of yoga and of people's bodies. So that's pretty exciting for me. Also, I'm graduating Saturday, the day that this airs, May 11th. I'll be at my graduation ceremony, walking across the stage, getting my degree, and I guess that's cool. Congratulations to the class of 2024, where we are entering a new era. The question is, what does that mean for this show? And I'm trying to figure that out. I'm ending this season. You know, this will be the last episode of season 2, and I will be coming back for the Perfect Prana Show summer edition, so kind of like a season 3. And then I'm, you know, trying to make plans for after summer, because I want to keep the show. You know, this is my baby. I love you guys. Anybody that's listening, there's lots of love. Yoga heals. This week's Yoga Heals, we're doing something a little bit different. I love to reflect. I love to get all nostalgic. So I'm bringing on the first guest of my senior year, and she will be the last guest of my senior year. We're having a full circle moment. Let's get on with the show. Currently, 60% of all people living in the United States have at least one chronic health condition. And of course, I'm a big advocate for yoga, one of the low-cost, low-risk ways to deal with chronic health conditions. And another way is through journaling. And of course, I talk about journaling a lot on the show, always a journal challenge for the weekly wellness challenge, but I wanted to take a deeper dive into the subject with the first person that actually came onto my show, the journaling queen, a yoga enthusiast, a graphic designer, Miss Tina Tan. How are you doing?
I am so well, and I feel so honored for this introduction. Wow. I love that.
Well, thank you so much for coming on to the Perfect Prana Show with me. Last time I started off asking you, why do you practice yoga? Which I'll insert your answer here on the last show.
I think a huge part of it is that it connects me to my faith and my spirituality. It connects me to spirit, ultimately. It connects me to God. It allows me to tune into this beautifully crafted and intentionally designed body, and just to take care of it, but ultimately to, like, convene with God. And also just for play. I love it as a way of exploring different sensations in my body. And so many yoga poses are like animal poses. So it's like, okay, when we were kids, we would like imitate what a cow sounds like, or like how a chicken walks. And so doing that in yoga is a huge part of my inner child, and allowing my inner child to come out and play.
Just for fun, I'm going to ask you today, let's just see if the answer changes at all. Why do you practice yoga?
Ooh, yes. Connection to spirit, always. Spirit being breath, prana, or ultimately God. And as well as allowing myself to explore and create shapes with my body and allow my inner child to release.
Ooh, okay. It's going to be so fun to listen to if the answer changed at all,
Yeah,
but
I'm
I
so
don't really
curious.
think that it did. I feel like that was pretty spot on. Of course, I referred to you as the journaling queen because you're always journaling. You're always talking about journaling. You're always posting it. You always have a journal, which you have right now. I wanted to ask you, well, why do you journal?
For so many reasons. I think first is to be able to have all my memories in one place. Another is to recollect my day and kind of get everything off my chest. Actually, let me go back to my first point of having all my memories. It's nice to like look back 5 years later and read everything that I wrote and what I was going through in that time and kind of step back into that mindset and think like, what was Tina doing in this season of her life? Or like, what was going on in my life at that time. And a fun thing is being able to send my friends my journal or like little moments of my journals and be like, oh my goodness, on this day we did this. And we had this tiny interaction that we probably forgot because I don't know about you, but so many interactions, like maybe it's the person at the grocery store. Like we leave the grocery store being like, oh my goodness, I had a great conversation. And then 3 years down the line, we never think about it. So it's nice to have all of that there.
That's really cool that you use it to track your relationships, which that probably helps to make your relationships better and more personal because you can just remember all your special interactions with people. And I have noticed that about you, and I admire that about you, is that you know everybody's name. You remember everybody, and it's just such a warm, welcoming energy. And it's probably because you can remember them from writing down information and things that happen with them. So that is really cool. My question for you is, do you have a life pre-journaling, or is this something that you've always been doing?
Whoa. Yes. I actually can remember my first journal I got 2016. My friend Amelia in high school gifted it to me. And I actually can think of all the things that I wrote in that journal. One of them actually being when my grandma passed away. So that was like 2017. And I do remember all of my thoughts being in there and processing grief. So it is another way of just dealing with all of my emotions and processing every step of my life. Pre-journal Tina, still the same energy of like this optimism, jumping with joy, but now documenting it and being intentional with gratitude. Because another reason why I journal is to express my gratitude. And there's so many scientific research on why gratitude journaling every single day is really great for you, for your mental health, and for yourself.
I guess I wanted to ask, so are all of your journal entries about gratitude? What if you're not feeling grateful in that moment? Or is that, what about people who are like, life sucks. Like, why would I journal about what I'm grateful for when right now everything sucks, What about that?
Yeah, I think to start it is like, okay, if life sucks, you sit down and you really do, if it really sucks, you really do have to seek out the good things in your life. But I think the more you do it, the more natural it becomes to notice the good things, that eventually your mindset kind of shifts from life sucks to being like, wow, there is so much in my life that is good. Whether it is like feeling the ground underneath your feet, or being able to breathe even a little deeper, or seeking a tiny interaction you had in the day, or just feeling the sun on your skin, really tiny things. And not all my journals are gratitude journaling. I think that's where I start. I definitely start with like the date, the day, the time, even the location, just in case I want to look back and be like, okay, what was I doing? And then I do have like little stars that I start off with, like, what has been good? And then eventually it turns into like, okay, and then here's what else happened in my day that maybe it wasn't so great, and this is how I'm feeling, and I could be so brutally honest. In some ways, journaling is like some people's sketchbook, if I'm kind of transferring that same reasoning to other people's way of doing life. But like, my journal is a way for my words to come out, but I know that no one's really looking at it, and it's a progress of written thoughts. And then for artists who draw, it's like no one's really ever seeing their sketchbook unless they're really showing it to other people, but they don't really show that. It's just like their progress as well.
No, it's interesting you brought up just the mindset shift, and that's what we're really looking for, because we can program our minds to go in certain directions. So if you just start a certain pattern within your mind, you're probably likely to repeat it. So starting that pattern of gratitude that's an amazing thing to do, especially with journaling, because then you have it documented. And I don't know, writing things down does make you remember it. Like, it's just a fact at this point. Like, I don't know what percentage likely, but I'm probably 100% likely will remember it. I have like my chances go up of remembering something once I write it down.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that earlier of like being able to remember people's names. And there was an instance I had written a really great interaction I had with someone who worked at one of my favorite restaurants. And the next time I went to that restaurant, I was like, oh no, like I completely forgot this person's name. And you know what I did? I opened up my journal, tried to flip to that day that I had gone to that restaurant, and I found it. And right as that person was coming up to like get my order, I was like, hello, insert a name here. And they were just so impressed, and I was like, oh, my journal saved me.
No, that is so real, because I, for the life of me, cannot remember anybody's name. Like, and it's so not personal, because it's like, I just interact with so many people, and like the number is increasing. The deeper I get into my practice, the more that I'm teaching, I come across so many paths with so many people. I'm like, bro, I'm constantly like trying to remember everybody's name, but it's like it doesn't stick, you know? So honestly, I feel like you have the key to getting better relationships and interactions with people, and kind of like for a professional sense of networking, but also just for love, like just to feel like have every interaction being like full of love. Because when you recognize somebody and make them feel recognized, it does feel like, wow, I'm loved, I'm cared about, I'm thought about. That's so.
I love that, Kyah.
To hear the extended version, search The Perfect Prana Show on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. Since this is The Perfect Prana, and look, I'm so grateful for you, Tina, that you started this. Is that you started this tradition for each yoga teacher to leave us with a quick pranayama before we go. So I'm going to ask you, Tina, would you lead us through a quick pranayama?
All right. So let's do 3 breaths together. All right. So exhale everything out and take a slow, deep inhale and hold at the top. Maybe take another sip and exhale all of it out. And a full breath in. Hold it. Maybe another sip. And exhale all of it out. And one last breath. Full breath in. Make it your deepest of your entire day. And maybe a little more. And exhale. Let something go.
3 breaths is all that it takes. No, thank you, Tina, so much for coming back onto the Perfect Prana Show and just having this full circle moment. Thank you for indulging in me with this conversation.
Thank you for having me here. I am so grateful. Always, always, always.
Yes. And I am lit up by our conversation. With that being said, the light within me bows to the light within you. Namaste.
Namaste.
You're listening to The Perfect Prana Show on 88.1 FM WCRX, also available on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, where I post extended versions. If you'd like to see what I'm doing, where I'm practicing yoga, and you would like to come practice with me, follow me on Instagram at Consistently Kyah, consistently spelled with a K, Kyah spelled Kyah. Weekly wellness challenge. Last week I talked a little bit about focused concentration, dharana, and I just said I just need to focus on getting what I need to get done this week. I need to concentrate on getting what I need to get done. And then I also talked about how the first five limbs of yoga are more so about what we do, are the disciplines, but the last three are more so states that happen to us because we practice these disciplines. So since we got our moral codes in line and we got our space in line, we made sure that we practiced and we made sure that we cleaned up and we decluttered and we didn't overconsume and we made sure we did all these great things, then we can be concentrated and we can get into this meditative state and then be enlightened. So the last three are more so states that happen to us. And I was like, it's hard for me to have a challenge for these necessarily. Since this is the last episode of the season, I'll kind of do both the limbs, if you will. And again, they're just things that happen to us. It's like once you get to 7, and you're in 7 long enough, yoga, you're in the 7th limb of yoga where you're in this meditative state, then you'll reach this enlightenment, I guess, you know? But this week, meditation. So yeah, it's just interesting because, you know, we can't really meditate. It's not something we can do. It's just something that can happen to us. But there are things that we can do that allow us to get to the state where this can happen to us. Essentially is all the other previous limbs of yoga, 1 through 5, between the ethical codes and the moral disciplines and the practicing of the postures, the yoga poses, the breathing techniques, and practicing sense of withdrawing from the external senses. Like, okay, I'm not gonna let what's happening distract me. You know, I just saw this coyote jump across a bridge and it might have been really cool, but I'm not gonna let that distract me from what I need to be doing right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that I actually saw that, but essentially, if we can get a hold of those first 5, then again, we allow these last 3 to happen to us. So again, there's really no challenge because I can sit in silence and I can close my eyes but still not be meditating. And that's the crazy part about it. And that's something that I didn't really understand. And then it made me question myself, have I ever actually meditated? Have I ever actually been in a meditative state? I don't know. Maybe, like, I'm not gonna think about it too much. Anyways, but it is a good practice to have to be able to sit quietly and to sit with yourself and not be distracted by the outside world. To just let all the thoughts pass and to have one focus in mind so that we can reach this true enlightenment, samadhi, bliss, enlightenment. And it's not just about being happy or whatever. It's the state of bliss. There's not too much I can say about it. I'm still learning about it. I'm in season 3. We're gonna recycle this for real. Summer edition. Now that we have a new perspective on the 8 limbs of yoga, I want to go through it all again. And that's essentially life. Like the path, we're always going through this path as we're trying to get to enlightenment. Everything that we do is so that we can reach enlightenment or bliss. Before I go, let me leave you with a quote. And this week's quote, to stay on theme, from Blaise Pascal. It's a pretty famous quote, and I actually got this from my dad. He saw it in a show, and then he actually looked up the quote, and I was like, oh, this is a pretty good quote, and I want to include it. And it is, all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. But it's been a great show. It's been a great season. It's been a great year. I'm so grateful for the Perfect Prana Show. I'm so grateful for prana, for breath. I'm so grateful for life. I'm so grateful for every single guest that has come onto the show, that has met with me, that has opened up to me. I'm so grateful for yoga. I'm so grateful for my health. I'm so grateful for my consciousness. And I hope that you're grateful too. It's been real. You're listening to the Perfect Prana Show on 88.1 FM WCRX, also available on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, where I post extended versions. With that being said, the light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.